The Kaaba, shrouded in mystery and sacred history, has stood as a beacon of faith for millennia. But what if its past holds secrets that many have never heard? What if its very foundation is tied to events beyond human comprehension? Long before millions of believers began circling it in devotion, before its black-draped walls became the center of Islamic worship, the Kaaba's story began in a time so ancient that its origins are almost lost to history. Islamic tradition tells us that the very first structure built in its place was not by human hands alone. Some scholars and narrations suggest that even before Adam's arrival on earth, angels had already established a house of worship there, mirroring the heavenly Kaaba known as Al-Bayt al-Ma'mur, a celestial sanctuary where 70,000 angels perform prayers daily, never to return. When Allah created Adam, the first human and the first prophet, he was guided to build a place on earth where he and his descendants could prostrate in worship. This structure, believed to be the earliest form of the Kaaba, was a simple yet divinely blessed sanctuary. Over time, natural disasters, floods, and the shifting sands of time buried its remnants, and its precise location became forgotten. But Allah's plan for this sacred site was far from over. Generations passed, and the knowledge of the Kaaba faded until the era of Prophet Ibrahim. He too had been chosen for a divine mission, one that would redefine the course of human history. His journey was filled with trials, but none was as profound as the command to leave his beloved wife Hajar and their infant son Ismail in the barren valley of Bakka, an arid land with no water, no crops, and no inhabitants. As he turned away after fulfilling Allah's command, Hajar called out to him in desperation, "O Ibrahim, where are you going, leaving us in this desolate place?" But he remained silent until she asked, "Did Allah command you to do this?" Only then did he nod, affirming that this was the will of the Almighty. Her response was one of unshakable faith. "Then he will not abandon us." As days passed, the food and water they had carried were exhausted. Ismail, still an infant, began crying in hunger. Hajar, overwhelmed with worry, ran back and forth between the two hills of Safa and Marwa 7 times, searching for help. It was then that the miracle of Zamzam occurred. An eternal well gushed forth beneath the feet of the crying infant, providing sustenance not only for them, but for generations to come. This miraculous provision led to the eventual settlement of the area, transforming a lifeless desert into a thriving city. Years later, when Ismail had grown into a strong young man, Allah commanded Ibrahim to rebuild the Kaaba at its original site. Guided by divine revelation, they worked together, laying stone upon stone, their hearts filled with devotion. As they built, Ibrahim called upon Allah, "Our Lord, accept this from us. Indeed, you are the hearing, the knowing." The final piece of this sacred structure was the black stone, handed to Ibrahim by the angel Jibril. Unlike its present-day blackened form, it was said to have been pure white, a stone from paradise, its color changed over time by the sins of mankind. Once their task was complete, Allah instructed Ibrahim to call people to pilgrimage. "O Ibrahim, call upon the people to perform Hajj." Confused, he asked, "O Lord, how shall my voice reach them?" To which Allah assured him, "Your duty is to call, and it is upon me to make it heard." And so, standing on the hills of Makkah, Ibrahim proclaimed the pilgrimage, and Allah caused his voice to reach the hearts of all future generations. The echo of that call still resonates today as millions respond each year, fulfilling the legacy of a structure built by divine command. Centuries passed, and the descendants of Ismail who had remained in Makkah slowly began to stray from the pure monotheism taught by their forefather. The once sacred Kaaba, built for the worship of the one true God, was gradually surrounded by distortions of faith. Idolatry crept into the hearts of the people, introduced by a man named Amr ibn Luhai, a leader of the influential tribe of Khuza'ah. It is said that he traveled to distant lands and encountered the practice of idol worship. Enamored by what he saw, he brought back an idol named Hubal and placed it near the Kaaba, declaring it a representation of the divine. His influence was so great that the people followed his lead, and over time, more and more idols were placed around the sacred site. By the time of Prophet Muhammad's birth, over 360 idols surrounded the Kaaba, each one representing a different tribe, a different false deity. The Quraysh, the dominant tribe of Makkah, took great pride in their guardianship of the Kaaba. Yet their reverence was misplaced. Instead of honoring its original purpose, they profited from its sanctity, turning pilgrimage into a commercialized event while maintaining their belief in multiple gods. Despite this corruption, the Kaaba remained central to Arab society. Annual pilgrimages continued, but the rituals had become tainted. Instead of sincere worship, they performed tawaf while clapping, whistling, and chanting praises to idols. The pure house of Allah had been turned into a shrine for false deities. Even the sacred well of Zamzam, once a symbol of Allah's mercy, had been buried and forgotten for years until it was rediscovered by Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Prophet Muhammad. Despite these distortions, the Quraysh still held the Kaaba in high regard, fiercely defending its importance. At one point, a major event shook Makkah to its core, the attempt of Abraha, the ruler of Yemen, to destroy the Kaaba. With an army of war elephants, he marched toward Makkah, determined to demolish the sacred structure and redirect pilgrimage to his own grand church in Sana'a. But Allah himself defended his house. As the army approached, flocks of small birds appeared in the sky, each carrying stones of baked clay. These tiny stones hurled from above decimated Abraha's forces, leaving them in ruins. This event, recorded in the Quran in Surah Al-Fil, was a powerful reminder that despite human corruption, the Kaaba remained under divine protection. Even as idol worship persisted, the Kaaba still held a spiritual significance that transcended tribal boundaries. The Arabs, despite their polytheistic beliefs, considered Makkah a place of sanctuary. Warfare was forbidden within its vicinity, and bloodshed was strictly prohibited within its sacred boundaries. But the time for a great transformation was nearing. The era of ignorance was about to end, and the Kaaba was destined to return to its rightful purpose. Soon, the final prophet would rise, and with him, the true meaning of the Kaaba would be restored, purging it from centuries of corruption and reinstating it as the purest symbol of monotheism on earth. For years, the Kaaba stood as the centerpiece of Makkah, its walls encircled by those who had long abandoned the pure monotheism of their forefathers. The Quraysh, the most powerful tribe in the region, held complete authority over the sacred site, dictating who could enter, who could perform rituals, and how the people were expected to worship. Despite their deep-seated respect for the Kaaba, they saw it as a means of maintaining power, both politically and economically. Pilgrims from across Arabia traveled to Makkah, bringing offerings and engaging in trade, strengthening the Quraysh's hold over the city. Yet, for all their devotion, they remained blind to the reality of their own distortions. They believed in Allah, but associated him with lesser deities, invoking idols as intercessors between themselves and their Creator. They took pride in their custodianship of the Kaaba, yet they defiled its sanctity by filling it with stone figures, carvings, and symbols of false gods. The turning point came when the final prophet Muhammad began calling his people back to the worship of one true God. At first, the Quraysh dismissed his message as a minor disturbance, a mere difference in opinion, but as his followers grew in number, their defiance of idol worship threatened the very foundation of the Quraysh's power. The Kaaba, their center of influence, was at the heart of the conflict. Muhammad's message was clear: no idols, no intermediaries, only direct worship of the Almighty. This was unacceptable to those who had spent generations profiting from their distorted traditions. They tried everything to silence him: mockery, threats, economic sanctions, even torture. Yet, the message of Islam only spread further, challenging the authority of the Quraysh and shaking the very structure of their society. Tensions escalated until the Muslims were forced to flee Mecca, seeking refuge in Medina. Even then, the Kaaba remained in the Prophet's heart. He continued facing it in prayer, though the command to initially direct himself toward Jerusalem was given. But after months, a new revelation came, restoring the Kaaba as the Qibla, the direction of worship for all Muslims. This moment symbolized a profound truth. The Kaaba was never meant to be under the control of one tribe or one people. It was a house built for Allah alone, a place meant for every believer, regardless of race or status. After years of struggle, the Prophet and his followers finally returned to Mecca. The city that once drove him out now lay before him in submission. He entered without bloodshed, his head lowered in humility, not as a conqueror seeking vengeance, but as a messenger fulfilling his divine mission. His first destination was the Kaaba. The house of Allah had been corrupted for too long, and now it was time to cleanse it. With his own hands, he removed the idols one by one as he recited, "Truth has come and falsehood has vanished. Indeed, falsehood is bound to vanish." The statues of long-worshipped deities fell to the ground, shattering into pieces, powerless before the decree of Allah. Once the last idol was removed, the Prophet entered the Kaaba, praying within its sacred walls, an act that had not been performed in its true spirit for centuries. The Kaaba was finally restored to its original purpose, a house of pure monotheism, free from the stains of idolatry. It was at this moment that he declared, "This day, all distinctions of honor and lineage are abolished, except for the honor of piety." The Kaaba, which had been controlled by a select few, now belonged to every sincere believer, no matter their background. Though the idols were gone, the Kaaba itself remained a structure imbued with spiritual significance, holding within it elements that connected it to the earliest prophets. Among its most mysterious features is the black stone, an object unlike any other in the world. Believed to have been sent down from paradise, it was once pure and radiant, but gradually darkened over time due to the sins of mankind. Positioned in the eastern corner of the Kaaba, it is the starting point of the sacred tawaf, the ritual of circumambulating the Kaaba 7 times in devotion to Allah. The Prophet himself kissed the stone, and though he emphasized that it held no divine power, he honored it as a relic of Ibrahim's original construction. Beyond the black stone, the Kaaba's structure itself holds deep symbolism. The Maqam Ibrahim, a small station near the Kaaba, contains the footprints of Prophet Ibrahim, marking the spot where he once stood, as he and his son Ismail raised the walls of the sacred house. It serves as a physical reminder of their devotion and obedience to Allah's command, a legacy of faith preserved within the very stones of the Kaaba. The door of the Kaaba, positioned above ground level, was originally accessible only by ladder, ensuring that only those permitted by the Quraysh could enter. After Islam's victory, it remained elevated, serving as a testament to the sacredness of the interior, a space where only the most honored individuals are granted entry. The interior of the Kaaba is simple, yet profound. It contains no decorations, no ornaments, only an empty, serene space where prayers are offered. The walls are lined with white marble, and 3 wooden pillars support its roof. Hanging from the ceiling are golden lamps, remnants of centuries past. The simplicity of the Kaaba's interior contrasts sharply with the grandeur of its exterior, a reflection of Islam's emphasis on inner sincerity over outward display. One of the most sacred elements of the Kaaba's history is the kiswa, the black cloth that drapes over its walls. Every year, this covering is replaced with a new one, intricately embroidered with Quranic verses in gold. The tradition of the kiswa dates back centuries, signifying the respect and honor bestowed upon the house of Allah. Despite the changing times, the rituals surrounding the Kaaba remain untouched, preserved exactly as the Prophet himself performed them. The Kaaba's architectural form has undergone several renovations throughout history, yet its core remains unchanged. At one point, the structure had an open semicircular area known as the Hijr Ismail, which was originally part of the Kaaba but later excluded due to lack of resources when the Quraysh rebuilt it before the Prophet's mission began. The Prophet once expressed his wish to restore the Kaaba to its original dimensions, but out of concern for the faith of new Muslims, he refrained from altering it. The semicircular wall remains today, marking the area that was once part of the sacred house. Though the Kaaba is known worldwide as the holiest site in Islam, few realize the depth of its history, the details hidden within its walls, and the significance of every stone that holds it together. It is more than just a structure. It is a symbol of devotion, a physical representation of monotheism, and a connection to the prophets who walked the earth long before us. It has endured attempts at destruction, seen generations of rulers come and go, and remained standing through the rise and fall of civilizations. The Kaaba's true power does not lie in its walls or its stone, but in what it represents, the eternal call to worship the one true God. For centuries, the Kaaba has remained the center of faith, a beacon of divine presence on earth. But the story of its future is one shrouded in mystery and prophecy. Islamic teachings foretell events surrounding the Kaaba that will unfold as the world approaches its final days. Among the most chilling prophecies is the destruction of this sacred house, an event that will signal the nearing of the last hour. It is foretold that near the end of time, a man from Abyssinia known as Dhul Suwaikatain will emerge and lead an assault against the Kaaba. With his thin legs and dark complexion, he will come with an army and systematically dismantle the very structure that has stood as the heart of Islamic worship for thousands of years. Brick by brick, he will tear it down, desecrating the holiest site in Islam, leaving it in ruins. This prophecy, found in authentic narrations, signifies a time of great corruption and disbelief, where even the most sacred places will no longer be honored or protected by the people of the earth. The destruction of the Kaaba will not be an isolated event, but part of the larger cosmic signs leading to the end of the world. Events that will include the rise of the Dajjal, the descent of Isa, Jesus, and the coming of the final tribulations. Though this prophecy remains in the unseen future, the Kaaba has not been free from attempts of desecration throughout history. There have been multiple instances where invaders sought to destroy or seize control of it. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 930 CE, when the Karmatians, an extremist sect, launched a brutal attack on Makkah. They massacred thousands of pilgrims, desecrated the sacred site, and stole the Black Stone, taking it to their stronghold in Bahrain. For over 2 decades, the Kaaba remained without its most revered relic, and many feared it would never be returned. Eventually, under pressure, the Karmatians returned the Black Stone, though some accounts suggest that it had been broken and reassembled, a permanent scar marking the only time in history it was forcefully removed. Yet, despite these attempts to desecrate and destroy it, the Kaaba has stood firm, its existence protected by divine will, remaining the spiritual center for believers across the world. Beyond its prophetic future, the Kaaba serves as the eternal focal point of Muslim worship. Every prayer performed, no matter where in the world, is directed towards it. This unity in direction symbolizes more than just a physical alignment. It reflects the unity of the Ummah, bringing together believers from different backgrounds, ethnicities and nations under one faith, one God. Whether a simple village mosque in the deserts of Africa or a grand masjid in a bustling metropolis, all worshippers turn their faces in the same direction, reinforcing the bond that transcends language, culture, and geography. This connection to the Kaaba is more than symbolic. It is deeply spiritual, a constant reminder that, despite the vastness of the world, every believer is part of something greater, a singular devotion to the Creator. Nowhere is this connection felt more deeply than during Hajj, the sacred pilgrimage undertaken by millions each year. The rituals performed around the Kaaba during Hajj are not mere formalities, but a reenactment of ancient acts of devotion, reliving the trials and sacrifices of Prophet Ibrahim and his family. Each step in the pilgrimage, from the tawaf around the Kaaba to the standing on the plains of Arafat, carries centuries of divine wisdom, a physical manifestation of submission to Allah. For many, the first sight of the Kaaba is an overwhelming experience, a moment of spiritual awakening that brings tears to the eyes, as if the soul itself recognizes the sanctity of the place. Pilgrims circle the Kaaba, their voices united in prayers, their hearts beating with a singular devotion, knowing that they stand in the most sacred place on earth, where prophets once walked, where angels descended, where divine decrees were fulfilled. Despite the grandeur of its physical structure, the true power of the Kaaba lies not in its walls or its black stone, but in what it represents. It is a symbol of devotion, submission, and equality. In its presence, no king is greater than a beggar, no ruler superior to a servant. The pilgrimage serves as the ultimate equalizer, stripping away all worldly distinctions and leaving only the sincerity of the soul. The garments of Hajj, simple white cloths, remind all that before Allah, there is no distinction of wealth, race, or status, only the purity of one's heart and deeds. This concept, deeply embedded in Islamic teachings, is reinforced in the daily prayers of millions as they turn towards the Kaaba in unison, reaffirming their commitment to the one true God. Yet for all its glory, the Kaaba is not untouchable. Time and history have left their marks on it. Floods have risen to its walls, fires have threatened its structure, and conflicts have erupted around it. But through every trial, it has remained standing, a testament to its divine purpose. Even today, the Kaaba is not just a historical monument, but a living, breathing part of Islamic faith, with every new generation of believers continuing the rituals of their ancestors. But there will come a time when the Kaaba will no longer stand. The world will change, and the prophecies of the last day will unfold. Until then, it remains the heart of the Muslim world, the direction of prayer, the site of pilgrimage, and the symbol of unity that binds the faithful across the globe. Every stone in its walls, every inch of its ground, carries the weight of centuries, the echoes of prophets, and the whispers of millions of prayers that have been uttered in its presence. Its story is not just one of the past, but continues to be written with every believer who sets their eyes upon it, with every soul that feels its pull, and with every heart that longs to stand before it in humble submission to the Lord of all worlds. The Kaaba is more than just a structure of stone and mortar. It is a symbol of faith, a testament to divine history and the beating heart of the Muslim world. From the moment it was first raised by Prophet Ibrahim and Ismail, to its corruption by idol worshippers, to its purification by the final prophet Muhammad, its legacy has endured through the rise and fall of empires, through storms and wars, through the passage of countless generations. It has witnessed the footsteps of prophets, the whispers of pilgrims, and the tearful prayers of those who stand before it, longing for nearness to their Creator. Despite the trials and tribulations that history has placed upon it, the Kaaba remains the one place on earth where the divisions of race, wealth and status disappear, where all stand as equals before Allah. Millions continue to turn towards it in prayer, millions continue to circumambulate it in devotion, and millions continue to seek the peace and unity it represents. Yet, the Kaaba's journey is not over. The future holds mysteries yet to unfold, prophecies yet to be realized, and a destiny that only Allah has decreed. But for those who have gazed upon it, who have walked in its shadow, who have stood before it in prayer, the Kaaba is more than a place. It is a reminder that life is fleeting, that power and wealth mean nothing in the end, that the only true purpose of our existence is to worship the one who created us. Whether standing in its presence or facing it from thousands of miles away, every believer carries within them the spirit of this sacred house, the legacy of Tawheed, and the promise that no matter where they are never alone, for their hearts are forever connected to the house of Allah.